Agility desktop application, and that's located on your local desktop in Windows. Close this out. That is located on your desktop here, on your machine that you're logged into, or your remote desktop where you log into SAP. But this is where we also administer WiSys. This application is going to give you forms and grids here to allow you to manipulate data and view data in SAP through our desktop application. But our setup is also done through our Agility desktop solution here. And I just want to show you that we have our features here for security, our picking, packing, our documents are all set here. So administering WiSys is done through the Agility Explorer desktop. So let's go to the handheld device and bring that up here real quick. An Agility 360 is an application that you see on my screen here today. This is an application just like your Google Chrome or your Maps application. This is an APK that runs using an IIS or a web deploy server to connect to the DI API. So no longer are the days of RDP necessary and CAL licensing. You're going to have an application on your Android device. The nice thing about WiSys in this day and age is that it's an Android-driven application, so you can technically use any type of Android device that you wish to use with WiSys. Now, there's things that we want to consider, we want to talk about. Warehouse devices, just like a device you're seeing here today on my screen. This is a Zebra MC9300. This is a ruggedized warehouse device with long-range scanning. These are the devices that are most popular, and you can see those on our recommended devices page on our online documentation. So I'm going to go into my Agility 360 application and load that up. And when this boots up, you're going to have the ability to log into the Agility 360 application using an SAP authorized user. Again, reminder that we are an integrated solution, and you will need a type of SAP authorized login. Most people may have a professional user as a manager or as an administrator of WiSys. Some people have a limited logistics, but most warehouse people would probably log in with an indirect user of license of SAP. And what that means is it's a less expensive license, and you could give that out to warehouse workers that don't necessarily need to be in SAP. You're going to have the ability to use WiSys to its fullest extent with having a very limited license from SAP. So I'm going to log in using a manager login here. And I'm going to type in manager here. That's my user credentials. And what that's going to do, it's going to take me to my main screen with all my applications and forms here. But I want to go through a little setup because I like to show you some default settings that we have by device. And WiSys is licensed by device. So as I go into my device settings, I have standard things that I can set as default. I can set default locations. And today I'm working exclusively in my warehouse 05, which is my binned warehouse. And I have default by this device that this location, this device is working in this location. So I don't need to manually type in the warehouse location in a lot of the forms that we're going to do today. My bins. We are working in a bin warehouse. It is recommended to have a bin warehouse, but using WiSys doesn't require a bin warehouse. Bins going to allow you to have locations to put things away, and we have set some default locations here for you to see. So I do have a default dock bin where I'm going to receive product to. I have a default production bin and a staging bin for the shipping area as well, and an inventory receiving bin as well. So I've set defaults so they don't need to be used later, and you'll see on some of the forms we have that a default is set into those locations. A big one for WiSys and a big advantage is that we do have native language translation within the product. So if your employees are seasonal or temporary workers, you can work in their language of preference. We also have many companies in different countries that they have requested to have their language translated for WiSys. And these are using the SAP language terms, and we bring those into WiSys to use natively. So I can actually click on the Spanish application here, and you'll see when I go back to my applications here, I have that all in Spanish. So that device can work in that person's native language, which is great. Let's switch that back to English for this demonstration. US English here, and we'll kick back to our screen. So today we're going to do some receiving and put away. We're going to do a standard buy it, stock it, ship it with a little production demonstration as well in there. And I do want to reference our desktop application, our desktop license during this demonstration. So what I'd like to do is go directly into SAP Business One and bring up a purchase order to receive against. And I do have a purchase order here and with a few items on it that I'm going to receive. And I'm going to be using barcode scanning today. I'm going to use that device that you see on the screen to receive these products into a goods receipt PO by using a scanning device. So I'll be scanning barcodes, and I'll show you how printing barcodes happen when we get to that as well. So I do have a PO that's open, that's ready to receive against. The truck has arrived at my dock, and I'm ready to receive. What I am able to do is, you see all the applications that I have on my handheld today. I can really narrow that down by rule and role of the person that is using the product. So I can assign specific tasks or actions, the forms that we call them, to a specific person to do their job, right? So in the warehouse, my name is Aaron. I may only have access to receiving and put away. I may have only access to cycle counting. So I can really limit the actions on the handheld to that person's specific job function. Again, to train your workers, maybe seasonal workers, temporary workers very quickly, even to train yourselves very easily in the jobs that you have to do. So we are going to receive product with our goods receipt PO form here. And as I click on that form, it'll bring up the form here. It'll load it up. And I have a few options here to actually receive this product. Now, I have a blue highlighted field, and I have my receiver document from the driver that has that purchase order scannable, a barcode on there, and I could scan that barcode, simply barcode scanning. What I can also do is, if I don't know the purchase orders that are coming in, or if I have them written or visually inspect it, I can look up those POs and click it and select it. I can even type in the PO that we're going to receive against, right? And this blue area here is our blue focus field. That's where we're validating in real time with SAP to an available purchase order. So I am going to scan that here, and I'm going to actually scan the wrong item. And when I scan that wrong item, it gives me a haptic feedback. It says this is not an open order. I can't continue on the form shown here today. I can't move ahead. I can't skip around. I can't change the way I receive. This form out of the box requires me to insert the PO number first. So if I validate that correctly, it should drop that blue focus field to the next line item. This alleviates making mistakes. As you're barcode scanning and doing scanning, you're going to make less errors throughout the entire process of WiSys, right? Throughout all of your applications here that we're going to use. So I do have a few items that we're going to receive, and I'm going to receive our first item, and I'm going to scan that item, their UPC, and it will fill in the description from SAP in there. It also fills in the vendor, and also remember that default bin that I had. This is going to bring everything to the dock. It's going to bring it to the docks. We're going to receive that into inventory, but then we're going to do a put away after that. So let's continue here. Also, WiSys handles units of measure, right? So if this was a case quantity, a master case that I use in SAP, again, one point of truth, one place where these items are located, not a separate database. It's using the item masters from SAP Business One. So anything that you've created in there with an item group, a unit of measure group, different barcodes for different units of measures, WiSys can achieve those by scanning those barcodes and will recognize those different units of measure. In this case, I have 500 eaches of this product remaining, and I'm going to receive in this item all 500 pieces and hit enter. What that automatically does is it drops me back or moves me back up to that original item level. And again, I'm going to scan that next item, and it's going to take me down to the quantity again. And in this case, I maybe only want to receive half of these items right now, or the other half is on another truck. I'm going to go to the restroom or to lunch, or maybe the end of my day, right? So I can receive however many I want at this point. I can under receive. I can over receive if that's a rule that I allow my, in SAP, allow my people to receive more than it's on the PO. I can do that. But in this case, I'm going to select 250 and hit the save key there. And it'll go back. And if I hit that 3-button ellipse there, you see that I've received 250 because there are 500 remaining of this product. I can go back and now, at the end of the day or after my lunch, receive the rest of those 500. Everything that you're seeing here right now is being loaded into a preload table. So you can work on multiple POs, you can work on different items as you need to throughout the day, and it's going to preload these into a table to allow you to then post these later. So let's take that last item that we have. And the last item, there's 1,000 of these on this, and I'm going to receive all 1,000. And it moves me back up to that item level. And if I take a look, there's nothing left to be received here. So I can now go ahead and post this. Now this is part of the secret sauce of WiSys. This is something that we like to really to talk about. When I hit this post button, it can do many things, right? It does multiple things, what we call a composite transaction. This does multiple things in SAP. It can print labels for me because these items didn't come with UPC labels. I've asked it by item to print out the correct UPCs in that, right? So it's done that for me, and I can label all that product as it comes in. The second step that it's going to do is going to take that preload and it's going to go into SAP and it's going to real time close the purchase order out. And if I do a relationship map, it's actually going to create that goods receipt PO, all with a single button in WiSys. So we're doing composite transactions. We're stacking different things that we do into a single button. Now, if we take a look at our Agility Explorer, our desktop applications, we have the ability to see in a grid format all of our purchase orders. So this application may run at somebody in procurement, maybe in somebody within sales and customer service, getting visibility without being in SAP to look at items that we have on purchase order. And that purchase order can be filtered. So right now I'm filtered on open purchase orders and my vendor, and I can open that up. But that purchase order, I can actually take a look directly at that purchase order and see that this is that the purchase order. Let's double check, make sure right. That purchase order is 1361. Let's just refresh this. And you see here, within WiSys, within our analytical tool, the Agility desktop, that purchase order is closed by that vendor. And when I highlight that line, I can see the child items underneath that line. So I can see everything in there. Now we can talk about modifying, because our tool set that we use to modify our product that you will see in another webinar allows us to modify this. But today, out of the box, you're going to see everything you need to see about that purchase order. I do also have the ability to create links or see links of that purchase order and direct me right into SAP if I need to go into SAP to see that. And it's going to bring that purchase order up. So I'm going to show you a few places in that in our Agility desktop where that will help you become better at what you guys do today. So we've received that product, right? We've taken that product in, it's at our dock, it's sitting at our dock. We've posted that goods receipt PO. Accounting can now pay that invoice. But what we need to do is we need to put away the product. And we have a put away function on an application on our screen here that allows us to put away. Anything at that default bin dock, I can now do an inventory transaction in real time to put those items away. And I'm not going to go too deep in this, but I really want to show you how easy it is and how quickly you can put items away right from that warehouse. And I can actually go right into a bin, or I can select a bin to where I could put those away. But I'm going to, again, I want to scan as I'm putting things away. I'm going to scan a specific bin. And I'm going to put away all 700 of these items in that bin. That easily, that quickly, I've just done a put away function of one of the items that were sitting at my dock from that purchase order and that goods receipt PO. Let's do a second item real quick. Again, it follows through the form. If I scan the wrong information, it says the bin's not found. I'm not scanning the right barcode. So I need to validate that against the Business One database that this is a correct bin that I can be using. And I'm going to put 1,250 of these away. So we've done some put away, right? We've got the product in, we've put it away to a location. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you some views of these products. So visibility is a huge reason people improve and get better and more efficient in the warehouse, is they have good visibility. And I'm going to match that visibility up with everything in SAP so you can see that. So right now we're going to take a look at some things called our item view. Our application called item view, I can scan anywhere in the warehouse, any location, the barcode of an item. I can see in real time quickly how many I have in stock, how many are committed to orders, how many are on orders with purchase orders, and how many are available for us today to use. Now, if I go into SAP and go in that item master, I can actually see that information in my inventory data page here. This is the same information that's shown on the handheld device in real time. So as we're doing those inventory movements, as we're going to do a warehouse movement shortly, you'll see that information move in real time in SAP. Again, using the same information and having one point of truth, having one database, one location for this information is going to help us all become better in the warehouse, right? We're all going to be better believing the information that's being told to us, right? So let's go back to the handheld device. So that's one view. The other thing, another button that I have here is if this were a batch tracked item, I would be able to drill into the batch information as well as the serialized information of this product. What I like to show here is the bin information. So I can click on the bin and it'll tell me exactly where these products are located in what bin. So you guys might have, some times where you've lost inventory where it's missing, you can't find it. With a bin system using data collection with WiSys and inventory transactions, you'll believe the location of where your items are located, right? So now I believe that I do have those in that bin, and now I can go to that bin and make good decisions based on real-time information. So let's do a warehouse transfer, and I'd like to show you some of that movement here. Very easily a warehouse transfer. So you might have virtual warehouses. You might have a warehouse that's a container on the sea, right? You've taken receipt of things and that's a virtual warehouse. I actually have a general warehouse that's a non-bin warehouse, and I'd like to get some product over to that. This may be my QC warehouse, my e-commerce warehouse, a different area where I hold different goods, but I'm gonna scan that first item again. And I'm gonna move that from warehouse 05, which is my bin warehouse where things are located, and see, I have 2,974 available, which matches SAP, and I can look up the bin where those are located. Remember we looked at those bins and we saw the location? Well, I'm gonna grab some of those from my first bin, and I'm clicking on it, and I'm gonna move those to warehouse 01. These need to be QC'd, and I'm gonna move those to a different warehouse for my engineers to review that, and I'm gonna move those over there. You will see that that bin has left because that warehouse is not a binned warehouse. That's just a warehouse. So I'm gonna move 74 of those over to that warehouse. And if I go to SAP here and refresh that, you'll see that I've now, in real time, moved 74 of this product over to the general warehouse. So very easily, warehouse transfers can happen very easily. In WiSys, we also have bin transfers. So you can see out of the box bin transfers very easily. If you want to move things to a different bin, I can take those items again, and I can move those from one bin, from the bin that I have the most in, I'm moving, and I'm gonna move those over to my staging bin because I really wanna prepare some of my product for shipment. So I have very easily the ability to do bin movements within WiSys in real time, right? So I just done that bin transfer. Let's take a look at that item here. We're gonna look at that item, and we're gonna look at the inventory data there, and we're gonna do a right click, and we're gonna do a bin location content list. So you see I moved those to the staging. I moved 222 over there. It's showing directly in SAP where those are located. So we have real-time visibility. So you can run your standard SAP reporting. I can even have inventory workspaces in my desktop application. So we could take a look at that inventory information right within WiSys. So let's go to my inventory workspace grid that I have set up. And let's just look at that first item that I have, 41024. And if I see that item and I can filter, I can sort by items, by item groups, and by warehouse, I can highlight that, and now I can see where those are located in real time. So I'm getting that visibility within WiSys, outside of B1, as well as standard B1 functionality. We have one point of truth. We're using the same data everywhere. Can't stress that enough. So we've received some product. We've looked at some things, right? We've looked at some views. We've done some transactions in the warehouse. Let me show you a couple other inventory transactions that we do. We do inventory transfer requests. So if you create that document in SAP, we can conduct an inventory transfer request by that inventory transfer request document. And I can do those in real time in WiSys. I can receive that product. What else do I want to show you? I do want to show you some bin audits. So in bin audit, I can go into the warehouse and I can scan any bin that I have. And I can see all the items that are located in this bin. And I have a lot of items in here. But I can go right up to any bin in my warehouse, scan that barcode, and real time see what's in those bins. Let's take a look at cycle counting. That's the next big thing that most of my prospects and customers and partners want to take a look at. So let's go into SAP. In SAP, WiSys handles the inventory counting natively into B1, right? Native B1 here, and that's under our inventory transactions menu. And I go to inventory counting transactions. And what this does is this creates inventory counting sheets based on my recommendations, whether it's monthly, weekly, by item, by bin. I create inventory counting sheets in SAP Business One. And I've done that here today. I have one that we're going to use, and I've created that, and I've assigned that to a single counter. Now I can assign that to multiple people. That's all done using the SAP indirect user. So I can assign that to specific warehouse people, or I can generalize that to anybody in the warehouse to count inventory. But I want to do some inventory counting, and I want to show you the relationship to SAP for that. And I'm going to count this by item today. So let's go to our inventory count by item, and I can do it by bin as well. But I can take that document, so I can deliver a piece of paper to my worker, or I can just assign that to their handheld where they can look it up here and see everything that they need to count today. And we have that 41, inventory counting sheet 41 is the sheet that we're going to count today. So I'm going to select that. And again, it's going to ask me for the item, and I can look that up, but I want to scan these items because I want to validate that. So I'm going to take that first item and I'm going to scan it. And it's telling me the bin location to get that. And I can also put many bin locations. So if I want to scan this item in multiple bins, I could do that on a single counting sheet. We're doing one item today just to make it easy for you guys to see how easy cycle counting is done. But let's scan that bin, and it validates that. If I were to clear that out and I were to scan the wrong item, it's going to give me a haptic feedback saying that that item is not found. That's not the correct. It can't continue. So we're doing a true blind audit by scanning here today. So I'm going to scan the correct item, and I'm going to scan the correct bin, and I'm going to count in there 990 items and save it. Right? So I've just been assigned this cycle counting sheet, the inventory counting in real time in SAP. I'm going to see that unit of measure counted, and I see my variance there is 10. So what I can do is I can reissue that to the counter to count, or I can have a manager go out and adjust that inventory and recount it themselves in our inventory adjustment application on the handheld. So I can go into the inventory count adjust, take the same document number that we had before, scan the same item. Oh, let's look this one up here. Right, and I'm going to count in there 1,000 of these. I went back out and counted, and I realized I found 10 that were kind of hidden behind that, and I found those, and I hit enter. Right, so now as a manager, I've been able to recount those and confirm that count and quantity. Now I can copy those to inventory posting and create a real-time inventory count of cycle counting. Again, this is all set up using SAP Business One, right? So the roles and rules that you set up, whether it's a guideline for monthly, annual, yearly cycle counts, those are all set up in B1. We're going to push those and deliver those to the people using the handheld to complete their job function, whether it's daily, monthly, or annually, right? However you set those up. So cycle counting is a really cool feature that I love showing that a lot of customers start with WiSys at, okay? So let's take a look at the handheld again. Now bring that up here. And let's get out of that. We are going to do some picking and packing also in the distribution phase of our demonstration today. We're going to do picking and packing, and we're going to do some shipping. But I do want to get over to our other tabs, and we're going to save those tabs for another session, a more advanced session with our pallet management. This allows you to build pallets, a packaging layer of items into a single license plate for inventory purposes, overstock, shipping as well, right? We ship pallets. We're going to go through that at another time. But this is a standard enterprise edition feature of WiSys that is very valuable to our customers, giving you much more velocity than ever before. Standard in WiSys also is our production module. And I'm going to show you a little bit about this, but this is standard production in SAP. We can issue goods from a production order. We can receive goods. We can also complete a finished good production receipt as well. I'm going to show just a little bit of this, but I want to say I want to go into a production issue. And I do have, let's go into that production order real quick. I have an item that I do want to do a production with that I do want to show you, and that's again driven by SAP here. And we've released a production order for some s'mores, and I do have some items here. These are batch tracked items that we're going to issue, so let's hope that works. I've tested it this morning. But let's take that production order 205, and we're going to issue goods to that, and we're going to scan these items. And we're doing this one quickly because we're going to spend an entire webinar later this year on production. I just want you guys to understand that production is a huge part of WiSys and one that many people take advantage of. So we're going to scan the first item here, and we're going to scan the bin. And notice that it dropped me to the batch level, and I have to take a batch for this. This is a batch tracked item. So WiSys out of the box handles batches. So I'm going to select a recent batch, and I'm going to issue 1,000 of these to that batch. And then I'm going to take my second item, which is graham crackers. I'm going to do the same functionality, scanning. If this batch was on the barcode, I would take it from the barcode, scan the barcode, and issue these goods to be produced, right? And that falls into the negative. So that's a good error to see. What happened was I don't have enough of that product in that bin to issue for this production order. So that's going to require me to go back and take that item again and make sure I have the quantity to be able to do that one. So I'm going to take it from the dock because we got those in there today. And I'll take the batch from the dock, and we're going to take all 1,000 here. So I made a mistake because I went to a bin location that didn't have enough, and I have to correct that mistake. I have to go back and follow through the form and make sure that I have enough quantity to fulfill this production order. And the last item here is my marshmallows, and I'm going to go again to a bin. So let's go to a bin, and it shows me a place that's the right bin. I'm going to take the correct batch, and again, I'd be scanning these if they were on the barcode, and I've just issued these goods to this production order. So you see here in real time, those goods have been issued to the production order, and now I'm going to do a receipt and create a finished good here. Right, so I'm going to scan that order again, and I'm going to produce 1,000 of these items, and it's a finished good, and it's creating a batch. WiSys out of the box has a serial and batch solution that allows you to create your own batch and serial number structure. I've told it the batch that I want to create today using that product. And I'll show you that in a second. And we're going to print labels to screen. Again, remember when I use our label designer, I've created labels based on that finished good product. And that's what I really want to show you next. I want to show you that label designer because this is a product that you get with WiSys out of the box. This is our label design. It runs on a Windows desktop and it connects to the database that we're working in. If I had multiple databases, I could connect to those as well. But let's pull this up. And I'm not going to go too deep into the label design software, but what I'd like to show you is that I have the availability to create my own labels using information from SAP Business One. And that label that I just created with that finished good is located right here. Now I could have a 1x1 label, a 3x4, a 4x6. I can create any labels for my bin structure, right? I can use all of that within WiSys and relate any information on the label to SAP Business One. So in this case, I'm taking the item code from the item master, and I'm taking that batch number directly from SAP, and that's going to produce a label for me within WiSys. And we have all these rules and settings, and we support different barcodes from QR codes. We also support RFID. We can even put images on these barcodes, and I can manually drag and drop these labels to create my own labels. So you'll no longer, with our out-of-the-box product, you'll no longer need a separate solution for label design, and this is huge. This costs quite a bit of money if you're buying this separately. This is included with the desktop application of WiSys. So if we received some product, we've made some things, let's make some money. Let's sell some items, right? Let's go through and start selling some things. So those items we brought in before, we're going to actually make some sales. And I do have some sales orders open here that we're going to reference, and we're going to go through and pick and pack and ship. And people do this many different ways. We can pick from a pick list using the pick and production manager within SAP, and I'll show you that here. So we do have a standard sales order, and I'm going to actually go to another sales order that I have prepared right now. Oops, one over. So this is sales order 1291. And I have generated by right-clicking a pick list here. I can view this pick list. Oh, this has not been generated, but I can right-click and generate a pick list for this very easily. Some people use this feature in SAP to very easily, without any definitions or any requirements set to SAP, create a pick list. So I've just released and created a pick list for this sales order, and that pick number is 79. We're going to reference that later. Other people, and this is highly recommended, this is a very good process, use the pick, pack, and production manager within SAP. This allows me to group orders based on my requirements, my expiration dates, my customers. There are many different drop downs here that allow me to select different requirements that I have that I could set to my setting releasing pick lists, right? So if WiSys uses the pick list with one of our applications, which we will show you, you can set rules to allow you to group orders how you want them picked. And you can also save that criteria as a template for yourself. I know many of you guys have big box customers where they take priority. Maybe you print out the sales orders and release those to pick lists based on the customer here, right? So you can do that using SAP natively. Once you release the pick list, WiSys can handle those a few different ways. Let's take a look at that one sales order that we're going to work on. So I have generated a pick list here, and we're going to look at that pick list for these items here. So there's 3 items with different quantities on that, and there's the pick number here. Again, I can take a look at Agility Explorer, our desktop solution, and take a look at those purchase orders, and I can filter those out. I could see my open purchase orders by customers, right? But I really want to focus on that one purchase order. There's that 1261 purchase. Is that 1261? Let's make sure. 1291. I apologize there. 1291. So there's that order that we're going to do a transaction in WiSys with, where we're going to pick and pack it. And you can see I've highlighted that, and I can see the 3 items released on that pick list. And it shows me that I've released those items to pick. So if I'm in sales and I want to see what the status is of my order, I can see that this has been released to pick, but it hasn't been picked yet. This is using WiSys desktop license. So let's go back to SAP. We'll take a look at that sales order, and we're going to go over to our handheld device. Now, let me show you a couple different ways people tend to fulfill orders. Let's go back to our distribution tab. And very easily, this happens a lot with cash and carry. And let me go to the right application. Very easily, people can do sales order deliveries. Maybe you don't want to create pick lists and you want to deliver a good straight from the handheld device. I can walk through the process of doing a sales order delivery, going from sales order to delivery note by scanning the items on this order. In our case today, we don't want to do that. We want to fulfill that order by using a pick list that we've created. So let's go to directed sales order picking. So there's another type of sales order picking, but we're going to demonstrate directed today. And what directed sales order picking is going to do is going to take me through a proper path of my warehouse set by my bin structure in SAP to be the most efficient way to pick orders. I don't want to have to get my 10,000 steps in. I don't want to be bouncing back and forth between aisles and running around the warehouse. I want you to direct me to that pick. And using that pick list, I'm going to actually scan the pick list or type it in or look it up. And it's going to tell me the order that's associated with. I don't have to enter the order in. It's going to tell me my first item. Now I can scroll between all the different items on this list, but I'm going to go to that first item on the list. And it's telling me exactly what bin to go to and how many to get from that bin. So I'm going to scan that item from the bin. And I'm going to scan the proper bin. And I'm going to take all 6 from that bin. It now directs me to the next item on the list in the next pick path of the warehouse. So I'm going to scan that second item, scan the bin, and scan the quantity of 8 here. And the last item is the tea glass flower power, and that item scanned here. I'm going to scan the bin. Oh, that's the wrong bin. Let's clear that out. Let's go pick that last one. So I did make an error here. I'm going to go back to that pick list, and there's the last item that needs to be picked. So let's scan that item again. I'm going to scan the bin, and I'm going to scan 6 from that. You'll see here that that pick list is now fully picked. So I've picked that list, and I've also staged that over to my staging area. So I've moved that over to my packing area. But let's look at that pick list real quick and see here that it's picked. Right? So those items have been picked off this pick list. So we're following the rules set forth by SAP, and we're doing that in real time in one location. Now, if I go back to my Agility Explorer desktop, you see here that the pick quantity has been 6. So it's now been picked. I know from a customer service standpoint, a sales standpoint, and even warehouse manager that this order has been picked. I can export this information to Excel if that's important to me. I can also sort different items, right? So if I want to sort by customer, I can take this order number out of there and just see all my open orders for MaxiTech customer and things that are past due, things that are unavailable. And I can select each one of these items to see what's actually in that order without going into SAP. But I do have the availability to drill directly into SAP to make a good business decision based on that information that I'm seeing here. So we've picked this item. We've picked the order using our directed sales picking. We are now going to take that over to our packing area to package it. So one way people do packing is picking the order and packing it at a desktop. And that's what we're going to do next. We're going to actually go into our Fulfillment Manager, which is an application in the Agility Explorer desktop that allows you to pack shipments for UPS, LTL, truckload, and it's going to help us build complex shipments. And this is a very easy shipment. This is 3 different items, maybe in 3 different boxes, but we've picked that product and we've brought it over to the packing area to be packed and shipped. WiSys does have the availability to complete the same action on the handheld device, and that's using our Pack Cartons application. So everything that I'm going to show you first here on the desktop in our packing station fulfillment manager can happen on a handheld device. What we call that is pick and pack in the aisle. So we can pick the product, we can pack it directly in the aisle and create that shipment for shipping to ship out later. But we're going to do it in a traditional manner on the desktop. So I'm going to start a new shipment. And this button here allows me to do a new shipment, tells me I have an empty shipment. I can add cartons, and in WiSys setup, we have cartons to add. You can have different size cartons based on your company. This is a standard carton that I've used, and it's created a package ID for that carton. From cartons, I can add items into that carton. So let's take that order, and we're going to scan the order, and we're going to scan the first item, and we're going to take it from the staging area where we moved it to, and we're going to take 6 of those here. Click OK. And we've put 6 of those items in this one carton and created that package. The next item in this order, I want to create another carton. I want to build another package here, and I'm going to add an item to that carton as well. So it's already got the order number pre-populated. I'm going to take that second item, scan the item, got the staging bin there, and I'm going to take 8 here from this order. Click OK. There's 8 in that. So there's 8 of that item in the second carton. And now we're going to add our third carton. And we're going to add our third item. We're going to scan that item here. Again, validating that all the way through. We do have the availability to do lookups. So if you want to look that up and see where things are located, we've moved that to the staging area already. So you can look up the items, you can look up the order, and I'm going to take 6 of these here, which is what's on the order. Now, any additional information down below would show up here. If I had additional lines to pack, I could see that here. If I had serial batch information as well, would show up directly here. The default is the ship to area, which we haven't populated yet, but you notice that this order is a UPS ground order based on the order in SAP. So again, it's going to follow the rule in SAP that this is a UPS order, right? Shipping type is UPS ground. That matches in the Agility fulfillment manager. So this order is ready to go. We have fulfilled everything in the order, right? We've boxed it all up. You see here we have our application. So this could be sent truckload or LTL. WiSys out of the box handles truckload LTL, and that will be for another session to go through that. But today we're going to demonstrate the UPS feature in WiSys. Because this is lit up, because this is a UPS ground order, I can now click on UPS. This will bring up the Agility shipping screen that you're going to see on the screen next. And what this does, this is the integration into UPS to be able to fulfill this order and relieve the inventory. Now remember I said one point of truth. What I wanted to remind you guys is in SAP, your weights and measures can be in there, and WiSys can use those weights and measures. We can also use a scale to get the real weight of the package, but I already have those weights set in my SAP item master. So it knows the weights for this shipment. And I have 3 packages that I've created. And I can adjust my service. So if I'd like this to go second day air, I can click second day air. If I want to change my ship from and ship to, I can change that as well. We have the availability to use a third-party billing as well. So using somebody else's UPS. I know with the drop shipping, a lot of people will provide their UPS information to have their company billed, right? So we do have that as well. In this case, everything looks correct. My ship to address is right. My service I've selected, I've needed to get there second day air. I'm going to use the ship button here. And this again is going to do a composite transaction for me. I'm going to click ship. It's going to do a bunch of things in SAP, just like we did before. First off, it's going to print a packing list, right? So that prints out a standard document that we have created, and this is using my label printer, so I apologize. This is going to print out a standard packing list for you. This could be a crystal report that you've created. This is a default document that's stored in WiSys. What it also did is it reached out to the UPS API, connected to UPS, and created that shipping label for each one of the packages. So I have 3 packages. I have 3 shipping labels. I can slap those on the box. They can go right on the truck now. And when I close this out, you'll see that that shipment has left. So I've completed the shipment through WiSys, through our fulfillment manager on the desktop, right? Let's take a look at that in SAP. So here's that same sales order that we just did, right? That sales order is now closed. We've closed that sales order. And if we go into a relationship map here, you can see it's created the delivery note. So it's done multiple things with that single ship button. It printed out any documentation I need. Maybe I have some hazmat material needs printed out. It printed out the UPS label, and it also created the delivery note in SAP so this customer can be billed, right? So that can be completed, the freight in there. It also returns the tracking information back into that delivery note. So now I can automate an email to my customers to send out to say, your item has been shipped, here's your tracking information. All within the SAP Business One database. All in the single database point of truth. We're believing the information because we're doing the transactions in real time. Let's go back to Agility Explorer here, and let's go back to the show the menu here. And let's go look at that sales order here. So we'll go back to sales orders. And we're going to look at sales order, and I can't believe I forgot this, so 1291. Let's look at sales order 1291. And that sales order is now closed, showing closed, and that inventory has now been relieved. So in SAP, we've relieved the inventory as well, and now I can refer to this and drill into this if I need to, that order within SAP. Okay, so we've shown you a bunch of things today, and I know we're coming close to the end, and I'd like to get to a couple of questions, and we've gone quickly. We do intend on having more webinars in the next few months. We'll be doing a webinar on pallet management and more focused on our Agility shipping product as well. Again, reminder that Chase on our team runs a monthly learning lab. So some of the things you see here today, we're going to focus deeper on. Right? We're going to get a better view into some of these transactions that may fit your business. One of the things we're going to talk about is our design tools. Everything you've seen here today can be modified and tailored to your company's needs. Right? We can tailor those products. We can change them. So things that you see out of the box may not necessarily be how your company handles that. Our secret sauce, what makes us different, is allows us without programming to tailor these forms that we're looking at on the handheld to your needs. And we'll go deeper into that into one of our next sessions as well. And I know we have some learning labs. If you visit the WiSys YouTube channel, we have all these available for you to review and online documentation as well that you'll receive in a follow-up email. So I've shown you a lot of the out-of-the-box functionality, hopefully giving you the belief that you can believe the information that WiSys is telling you because it is happening in SAP. Do we have any questions out there that we can answer, that we can take a look at? Chase, you're still there? Hopefully I kept you awake.
Yeah, no, we've had some good questions. So I'm gonna try and group a couple together a little bit for you for the sake of time. So we had a couple that related to standard B1 functionality and our ability to view that. So it might be worth talking a little bit about the integration. For example, somebody asked about if we can use B1 bins. Somebody else asked about our ability to see draft documents. So maybe just talk a little bit about how we can access all that.
So the draft documents, so first of all, that's a very good question because WiSys uses the native B1 database, right? So as we take a look at our bin locations that I have set up here, right? My bin locations are being used in SAP. And why is that important? Because this is where I set my rules. This is where I set my limitations, my min quantity, my maximum weight, things that we talk about like replenishment. But we're doing this once. We're not doing this in a separate system. You're using B1 today. You're restricting bin locations, item restrictions, units of measure. We're going to take the power that you already have in B1 that you're using today, and we're going to harness that and making the people in the warehouse follow those rules by giving them easy forms to use on a handheld, right? So they're not going to make the business decision of where things go. I'm going to direct them to do those items, right? So I could train those people very quickly, and I set up the bin structure in SAP. Again, I only need to do this in one place. I only need to do it in SAP, and it's handled by the WMS. Some other solutions out there may have separate databases where it synchronizes and pushes things back. I can go all the way into the item masters, right? So those item master within SAP is where we move our transactions with, right? So any of the items that you see here with the units of measure groups that we have and the barcodes, the multiple barcodes you have and units of measure all happen in SAP. So you set it up once. The draft documents, again, those are going to be things that we need to tailor, right? So we would take your company, your process, and tailor the application to see anything in B1. So if you have UDFs, UDTs, we can do all of that, right? We can harness that B1 database and take the items that you have. So if it's a draft GRPO, we can do that. It just needs to be tailored. It's not an out-of-the-box solution. And with our business analyst, we can help you determine the best practice. If that is the best practice, we can tailor our forms to fit your needs. Great question, Chase.
Yeah. Another good one too is we had a question about if our system can work with tablets.
Yeah.
So it might be worth highlighting all the different types of equipment we work on.
Yeah, and that's going to be sent in the system requirements. But yeah, of course, a tablet is a great opportunity. I have a customer that has they use all forklifts, right? They don't have anybody walking around. They mount tablets to the forklift as long as it's Android. I think it's version 4.4 KitKat or higher, which is pretty old, right? You can use that, but yeah, tablets are a great opportunity for you to have a more cost-effective solution. Maybe actually, I'll bring up my screen here today, my camera here, and I have a USB scanner attached to my device, right? I could have a Bluetooth scanner to that tablet, or mounted, with a zip cord where a scanner hangs. So it really depends on your environment, and I'd love to have those discussions with you of, what device is best. I actually have a device that I used today during this demonstration, right? This is the device I use. This is a ruggedized warehouse device, and this is the very popular device within a lot of our customers. So we can talk about that. We can have discussions, but a tablet is a very efficient way to do. Now, a tablet has a soft screen, it has a soft keyboard. So you want to make that decision. Are your warehouse workers wearing gloves? Do they need a hard keyboard to type in these numbers, right, when they're typing in quantities, things like that. So very good question, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'd say one more important one too, Aaron. We had some conversations about our different competitors in the SAP space.
Yeah.
And so, if you want to highlight some of the things that are just unique about WiSys, that might be worthwhile, and specifically, the ability to do things without development. I know you talked a little bit about it at the end, but that's a great point.
I would say that the Android solution is a huge innovation in the WMS space throughout SAP Business One. I think that WiSys offering the native Android, connecting to an IIS server, eliminating the need for RDP, the licensing for RDP, a separate application server. With WiSys, you need an IIS server, a web server to do that, but that allows you to leave the four walls of the warehouse. That opens up the world to you maybe on a delivery application, but also harnesses the power of those devices. So being an application that runs on an Android, you can harness the camera. We can take pictures, we can take signatures, we can even grab geolocations. So if you have a tablet on the road and you're doing a sales order delivery outside the four walls of the warehouse using cellular, you have the availability. So that's a huge innovation, I believe, for WMS in this space in B1. Our pallet management, so standard applications, agility shipping integrated is a huge advantage, right? Having one product seamlessly from receiving to stocking to shipping. Also the pallet management, which we didn't get into today, which is a completely webinar on its own, because that will show you how to group items in a package layer, all the way from containers to cartons. So the ability to tailor our product using our design tools allows our customers to learn the tools and be able to modify our product themselves. So that's a potential there for you. It takes training and time, but you can learn the product to be able to modify it and create new forms. Any of the forms you see today can be modified, right? But you could create new forms that fit processes unique to your business. So, we like to make sure that we have one point of truth as SAP Business One database, but we can harness other add-ons, right? Other applications, other databases within that server instance. So if you have information in different areas, I understand that many partners have different applications that they provide you, or you use UDFs or UDTs. WiSys can harness all of that in our product. So it gives you the flexibility to be able to work within your company's needs, right? Now, my recommendation, always try the out of the box, best practice using our consultants and our business analysts, finding best practices, making your company better. Fitting our product to your company can happen, but I like to say we want to improve the warehouse. We want to improve on those processes. We want to make you faster, more efficient, and validate that against real data. So that's how I say we're different, right? We are different. We can help you become better in the warehouse. We don't drop off software, right? We will help you through a implementation process to help you take pieces, right? You don't have to do everything that we do at once. You can focus on certain areas like receiving or cycle counting. Using the native B1 database or the database of the ERP, it allows you to still do the things the way you're doing them today, but adding technology to help you become better. Slowly, quick return on investment, right? Easy wins, I like to call it. Cool.
Yeah, Aaron, I think that covers all the major questions that I have here in the chat. So
yeah. Well, hey, I appreciate it, guys, and I look forward to doing more detailed webinars on our modules, right? We have a lot of modules that we really highly touched today. And if you want to see something more specific, I'm going to send a follow-up email. We can talk about your specific needs, your company's needs. We can have a discovery conversation. We can have a demonstration tailored to your company. I really like to show it based on your items, your goods, the processes that you do. So yeah, join us for our learning lab. I think we just had one last week or this week, but next week there'll be another learning lab. Contact your partner. If they're not working with WiSys, have them give me a call. I'll give you my information with a follow-up email, and we can have a good conversation. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you joining today. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.